Technical Writing for Inspectors, Module 14, Complete Sentences. Instructor, Gary A. Pace, P.E., CWI, Katy, Texas, TexasWeldingEngineering.com. Okay, learning objectives for this module. Complete sentences, simple sentences, compound sentences, complex sentences, end punctuation, sentence fragments, run-ons and ramblings, and proofreading. So let's talk complete sentences. Sentences in English must include a subject and a verb to be complete sentences. We should try and vary the type of sentences we use when we're writing documents, technical documents. We don't want to just have a bunch of simple sentences or, not everything's just complex sentences. We want to try and vary these because it helps our writing style and it keeps it from just being tied up with choppy sentences or overcomplicated sentences. These three types of sentences kind of complement each other. So we're talking simple, compound, and complex sentences. And I'm not trying to turn this into a 5th grade English course, but we're kind of going to do a little of this. So we also want to avoid, when we're writing technical documents, we don't want to use sentence fragments, and we don't want to use run-on sentences. These are things we want to avoid. And we want to make sure that our sentences express a complete thought, and that it's clear enough so that the readers can understand it. So we need to understand what we're looking at when we're talking about putting together a complete sentence. So a simple sentence, as our 5th grade teachers taught us, or 3rd grade, it's the most basic of sentence structures. It's got a subject, verb, and it's a completed thought. An example would be Joe went to the store. The store was big. These are simple sentences. We don't want to write a whole technical report with simple sentences. The weld was good. The weld was bad. There was porosity in the weld. I don't know if that's a simple, but you get my picture here, what I'm trying to say. So simple sentences, they are useful, but we're going to also need to use some other types of sentences. So we've got compound sentence. It's like 2 or more simple sentences added together. So I like coffee, Mary likes tea. That would be 2 simple sentences. But we can add them together and get I like coffee and Mary likes tea. We throw that word and in there. It's a joining word, a linking word, and it ties our 2 sentences together. So then we have a compound sentence. Mary went to work, John went to the party. And so then we have Mary went to work and John went to the party. I don't know why John's going to the party while Mary's working, but whatever. But that would be another example of 2 simple sentences. We throw in a comma and the word and we have a compound sentence. So with a complex sentence is a sentence that contains an independent clause and a dependent clause. And once again, I'm trying not to turn this into a super crazy English class, but for this example, we'd need I like to eat candy before I watch a movie. So this has 2 clauses. We've got I like to eat candy, which is the independent clause. This is like a sentence unto itself. I like to eat the candy. And then we've got a dependent clause, before I watch a movie. Well, before I watch a movie is just a fragment. It's a clause. It's not a full-on sentence. We can't use that because there's no reasoning behind before I watch a movie. But it's when we put these together, we have a complex sentence. I like to eat the candy before I watch a movie. Makes sense this way. So we probably are going to use a few of these complex sentences when we're writing our reports. End punctuation, very crucial. End punctuation is the punctuation at the conclusion of the sentence. It's the end of the sentence. It tells us that, hey, our words have come to an end. This is a sentence. This is a series, a thought or a couple of thoughts, and it's ending. We're going to start something new. So it lets the person know that a sentence is finished. It also tells the reader how to interpret the sentence and how to read each sentence, because it's going to tell us, you know, because there's three types of end punctuation for the most part. We've got periods, question marks, and exclamation points. Period. Periods end a complete sentence. Done. I went to the store. Period. That thought is done. We're ending it. Then we've got question marks. These are used after interrogative, direct questions. So, did you go to the store? Question mark. It tells the reader, hey, this is a question. And then we've got exclamation marks. These we can use to end a lot of emphatic expressions. Expressions where we want to, I won the game, and then we throw an exclamation mark behind it. That tells the reader, hey, I'm super excited that I won the game. You know, she went to the store. You know, we're excited that she went to the store. We throw an exclamation mark behind there. So in technical writing, we're probably going to use periods the most, maybe some question marks, a handful of question marks, and pretty rarely are we ever going to use exclamation marks. Could happen, but probably not for the most part. So fragments. A fragment is an incomplete sentence that is missing a subject, predicate, or both. So an example or a group of examples would be not a healthy snack. Well, what's not a healthy snack? It's just kind of a little chunk of information there, a little fragment. Mark and his friends from school. Well, there's no verb in that thing as far as I can tell. What did they? Mark and his friends from school went to the store. Well, they went to the store. And then all the other kids, you know, what's that telling us? So we want to avoid fragments in technical writing because this just leads to a lot of issues. We need to be cognizant that fragments exist, and we're trying not to put them into anything that we write. So then we got run-ons and ramblings. So a run-on sentence is two or more sentences that run together. An example of this would be, the pet show was fun. The crowd loved all the dogs. Well, we're kind of missing some stuff, or we just jam some two sentences together, and that doesn't really work. A rambling sentence can occur when several sentences are connected with conjunctions, such as and, or, but, and so. An example of this would be, I knew that Steve's portrait would get an award, and I also thought that Marvin's statue would win something, but I was not so sure that Leon's artwork would do as well as the others. Well, that's a rambling. That's just kind of some stuff. We could probably break that up into two sentences or maybe even three that would read a little better than us having that quantity of words jammed together. These are some things that we also want to avoid when we're writing a technical document. We want to avoid run-ons and ramblings. Proofreading. Okay, so when we're proofreading, we want to keep it simple and to the point when we're going through things, when we're reading our sentences. I just pointed out a couple of things that we want to avoid, so keep it simple and to the point. Sometimes you're going to have to cut long sentences in two. Sometimes you can't. But if you can and it makes sense, do it. Don't get so tied to your work that you're afraid to slice and dice things, afraid to cut things up and edit it. Check for sentence fragments. All the boys, all the welds. Well, what's with all the welds? All the defects, all the welders, some of the welders, whatever. Fragments. We don't want fragments in technical writing. Check for run-on sentences, like I talked about, and we want to check for ramblings. We don't want ramblings in our conversations or in our technical writing examples. And we want to ensure that we have good punctuation. Make sure your punctuation and your commas and all that punctuation is dialed in and good to go. You know, and sometimes you're going to have to remove extra punctuation. Make sure you've got enough, but make sure you don't have too much. Sometimes when I copy and paste, I'll have an extra period or two in the sentence because I've copied and pasted from somewhere else and I haven't cleaned it up. And don't use the first person pronouns. I know I've said that previously, but we don't want to use the he, she, I, me, we, any of the first person stuff. We don't want to use that. Summary. We talked about complete sentences, simple sentences, compound sentences, complex sentences, end punctuation, sentence fragments, run-ons, and ramblings, and proofreading. Questions. Gary A. Pace, PE, CWI, Katy, Texas, TexasWeldingEngineering.com. Got any questions or comments? Contact me and I'll try and see what I can do to help you.